Today we're gonna make some clear ice. And I know the hoopla about ice is probably overblown, but clear ice is just pretty to look at. It's sexy. Makes your drinks taste better by looking better. I know that sounds pretty foolish, but honestly, we start consuming with our eyes. So when you see that sexy piece of, or when you don't see that sexy piece of ice in your glass, it just makes your mind think, what's going on here? And it's that thing, that acquiring of what's going on, that starts to open up the senses. So we're gonna do it in two different ways. We're gonna do it in a cooler. We're gonna do it in an insulated cup. And basically, the science behind it is kind of like the way a pond freezes. You can either freeze from top down or bottom up, but whichever way you freeze, the impurities get pushed. So as long as you have room and you have an insulated side without an insulated top, it's going to push in only one direction. And that's the difference between regular ice in your house, which is designed to just freeze quick, which it does a damn good job. And surprisingly, our grandparents, they had clear ice and it wasn't any big deal because the way they got their ice, that's the way the ice was made. It was made usually from cutting up pieces of blocks of ice in a pond and then kind of pushing it out to the public. So clear ice isn't a new thing. It's kind of what nature does all the time. Just like if you ever take anything you see, you have a bucket or any type of thing outside when it freezes, if you live in that sort of environment, that top piece of ice is almost always crystal clear. Icicles, they're all crystal clear. So nature knows what nature wants, and that's purely frozen water. And that's what you get from clear ice. It pushes top down or bottom up. I'm gonna start by dumping this into my container, and then we'll chop up the cooler and see what that looks like. That's what we got. Pretty clear. I can definitely see through it. Let's see. I can see my hand. Oh yeah, I can see my hand. You're probably not going to be able to see me, but that's pretty easy, simple. That's clear ice. Gonna pop that back in here for now. Then we're gonna dump the cooler. This cooler was in my deep freezer, so didn't even cool it for 24 hours, and it might have froze too much because it was in a deep freezer, but we'll see. We might have to cut away more of that cloudy ice than you would want, but I think that's half the fun of doing this. Oh. So what we got was definitely not success. We got clear ice, but it seemed like I had a bigger piece, which made sense because it really wasn't in there that long. So the piece that we got is not big enough. So we're gonna have to pour it, come back tomorrow. But when you try something for the first time, you never know what you're gonna get. So I'm gonna practice chopping this up, practice chopping up the piece from the thermal insulated cup, go place this back into the deep freezer and try again tomorrow. By the way, my ice picks and stuff don't come in from Amazon until tomorrow anyway. So let me get that back in the freezer so we can get some real ice. So this is the level of what we started to get. So we're not there because it wasn't thick enough, but the technique definitely does work because this is some pretty clear ice. And to be honest with you, I'm probably just gonna make a drink with these big giant chunks. Make me a quick old fashioned, smoke a cigar, get that cooler back in so we can work on it tomorrow. I'm gonna let this sit right here. The one cool thing about clear ice is it melts a lot slower. So I don't have to worry about this melting too quickly before I come back and switch gears from and making ice tutorial to, well, let's make it old fashioned and smoke a cigar. Be right back. All right, I'm back. So the cooler is back in the deep freezer and just need to not be so impatient. But I did pick it up, shake it, and it seemed like it was solid. I knew the time was off, but I figured maybe because it was in a deep freeze as opposed to just a local household freezer, it froze quicker, but it clearly didn't. Well, it froze, but it didn't freeze solid enough. So this is not gonna be a old-fashioned video, how to make an old-fashioned. This is just me salvaging being too impatient and going from there. And that's one of the cool things, you know, when you don't take yourself too seriously, you can bounce back from your mistakes. You can enjoy them. You can move on. And also knowing how to, not gonna say cover them up, but knowing how to incorporate them in a way that makes you more human. That's something I think we all need to do. So that's what I'm gonna attempt to do. I'm gonna pull out my ingredients. I'm gonna use this rye right here. I was planning on making a fancy old fashioned with Japanese honey and smoked tobacco. I'm gonna still probably do that, but this one's gonna just be a regular old fashioned, but I am probably gonna smoke it with some tobacco. So let's gather the components, shall we? And I know I said my ice pick is on its way, but I do have an ice pick that I normally use when I'm doing leather work. And it is an ice pick, so might as well use it. Got some bitters. It's the good stuff. I kind of like the muddle in my glass, so got some sugar. Let's grab some of the components. Don't need the saws right now because I'm not really cutting up any ice. Strainer, jigger, muddler, spoon, ice. Go. Give me some pretty nice clear ice for mixing. I think that's good. Probably gonna use that piece of clear ice, which pound for pound is not clearer than the cooler method. Cooler method made a much clearer piece of ice. So maybe I will actually chop up a couple of pieces of that to put in there. Let's get these over to the side. Make it a wet mess. I'm gonna use some syrup, and like I said, I like muddling. Oh, my cherries are upstairs. So are the oranges. So I will be right back. That's what happens when you gotta switch gears and transition. You don't have everything in front of you. See, normally this ice would be making a puddle, but because it's clear ice, it's not melting too bad. So I got my cherries, got my oranges. Made me remember is I like to muddle a piece of orange inside my glass, along with a little extra bit of rye to help the muddle process. But I don't like to muddle the rind. So, piece of orange right here. Some orange for the essence. And for the garnish, got to get my composure back. The little bit of rye that I put in the glass to muddle, I don't measure that because that's all bonus. I don't really measure anyways. And I'm the one drinking it, so. I like to put something in that kind of strain what I muddle. So, got these slices right here of sweetened dried orange. I have the sweetened kind, and I have a drier kind that is blood orange with less sweet. Let's see. You pop that in there, and then when the ice gets in, it kind of strains the muddle part, but obviously it's liquid, so it can mingle. Two ounces, 3 ounces, who cares? That's 2. Let's give it a little bit more. That looks good. For my simple syrup, I could measure it out, but because I muddled, I'm not gonna need a lot, and the orange is sweet. So I'm not gonna pour it inside the jigger because then it's just gonna stick to the sides and I'm not gonna really get what I put in there. So I do it by eye. couple of squirts. That's all you need. Then for bitters, because I'm also gonna use orange bitters, I'm not gonna squirt too much of this guy. Maybe 2 dashes, and I'm gonna go a little bit heavier on the orange. That's good. This guy. That's 4. Oh. Smells good. Oh, felt like I was using the wrong stirrer. Now remember, this piece of ice was too big, so you definitely have to ice shavings, very nice. Ooh, that's hot. It's my drink, my workshop, so I can lick the spoon. Here we go. We do have clear ice in the glass. And tomorrow, I'm gonna shape up some cubes, do a better job. But if this is any indicator of what we're gonna have, this is pretty clear. This is definitely pretty clear. You can see my hand through it. I'm looking up there at the monitor, so I know you can see through this glass. I'm gonna put it up close to the screen. Look at that. It's pretty amazing. There we go. Salvage the day with an old-fashioned, a little bit of clear ice work. That obviously wasn't anything to write home about, but I got a drink. I got some ice. I got some more ice to have another drink. And I got a pretty nice cigar behind me. So what else you need? It's nice to be able to correct your mistakes. Yeah, that's good. Get in there, you garnish. Alrighty. Let's pack some of this stuff up and light up a cigar. This is also something you can do when you're at home. Whatever's left in the mixing glass, that's yours too. Oh, that's good. It's amazing how slowly this ice actually does melt. My other cigar is upstairs. That is very cool to be able to hold your fingers and look through your glass and not see your ice and know that's something that you did at home. Doesn't take a lot to class up something when you know how to. Just a little bit of technique. It's almost always just a little bit of technique is the special sauce to just make it whatever you do classy. Even the most base level things. A little bit of finesse and expertise, and you look like you're head and shoulders above everybody else doing even the same mundane thing. You can throw anything out there, and I can tell you how just adding that little sprinkle of something makes it seem like you're the pro. Makes it seem like you stand out. Makes it seem like you actually know what you're talking about. And that's something that you learn kind of later in life. And actually, maybe that's something that you don't learn. And I put a little sign right here on my workbench covered up in orange tape. I love orange, so I can just look over and see it. And it says, "It took me 50 years to learn what most men learn way too late." There's so many of those things out there that are true. We learn those things. We learn them the hard way. We learn them too late most of the time. Too late to actually make the most of them. But learning them and using them and implementing them as soon as you learn it, that's the only guard against the fact that we learned them too late. Doesn't matter, I guess, when you learn it. It's when you put it into practical app and learn something, do something. That sets you apart from 99% of the people out there that either don't learn or don't do. And it's usually a combination somewhere of both of those. They learn it and they don't do it. Or they learn it and they don't do it well. Sometimes the people who don't do the learning but just do the doing, they get to expertise quicker than the people who have a whole lot of knowledge. And we all know those people. I honestly pride myself on being one of those people. Being a doer, and then all of a sudden you look back and it looks like you were a learner. And I was never a learner. I just decide I want to do something and I figure out a way to do it. It's always been the way I operated. And pretty much nothing has changed. Man, sitting here kind of nursing that, still tasting just as good, maybe just a little bit better, because that melt is so much slower, so much slower. Kind of like on my bench right here, that melt is slow. Clear ice. I don't know, I might actually try to term it, not call it clear ice, because everybody calls it clear ice. Every clear ice video is out there. Everybody knows what clear ice is. I might start calling it pond ice. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Try to own the term pond ice. Almost doesn't seem real. If it wasn't dripping, you might not think it was real. Let me shine some color light through this. Oh, first one I picked was orange. Look at that. Let's grab this big old piece. Let's see if I can see my logo through it. Ah. The Dirtbag Association patch. See if we can read that through this piece of ice. Let's stand up. I mean, I can read it. And I just found out that I need glasses, or at least an upgrade of my prescription, and I can see through there. Look at that. Look at that. Like I said, if it wasn't dripping, because I'm holding it, you might think it wasn't real. Hopefully I made the most of this mistake video. It's amazing how slow this ice melts in a workshop that's probably 80 degrees. And I'm only not sweating because I have a fan blowing at my back. But, I mean, that's some water melt, but not a lot. Nowhere near as much as if that was just some regular ice cubes. Don't really got anything going, but if you keep the camera rolling, so I'm gonna put on a little bit of music. Smoke this little small cigar, drink that old fashioned, maybe make another one. Then I'm gonna get to rolling some cigars because I don't have the ability to make a video about, or the video I'm gonna make about the clear ice, because I messed up. But that means I got to a drink and a cigar just a bit quicker. It's getting even better now. We got a little bit of melt, but we're getting closer to that ice being able to manipulate that piece of orange in there and work on the stuff that I muddled in the bottom. Because this is such a simple drink and I already got some muddled in the bottom, I got the sweetened orange and a piece of clear ice. That drink is looking a little low now. So what I'm gonna do, gonna grab my rye, and I'm gonna freshen it up right inside the cup. Get over there. Strange using leather craft knives to work. With orange peels. And that's a knife that I almost never use, but the knife I use a lot when it comes to leather work is this. I mean, makes a great cocktail knife. Pushes nice, it rocks. Maybe I should start using this bad boy. And all of a sudden, I have a bigger drink. And it still tastes like an old fashioned. I should actually put a timer on that ice and see how long it takes for it to melt. Man, I mean, that right there with the little refresh might taste better than the one that I mixed. That's actually kind of cool. I think I just realized something that in the workshop, my old fashions may be bottomless or never ending. Because if I can just keep on adding a little bit more rye, a little bit more of the bitters, got the orange to my side, and it seems like it's gonna be a never-ending bottle. Kind of like Olive Garden breadsticks. I got this guy in to make some spheres with the clear ice, and I like it. It's a little expensive. It's cool watching it actually work, but the sphere it makes is a little bit smaller. And I might actually want to work on actually creating the spheres in my hand. Might just be more visual for the presentation. So maybe I'll use that because it's nice watching the like science of that copper just melt a block of ice in less than a minute and turn it into a perfect sphere. But being able to use some hand tools, which I completely love, to shape the ice, that might be where I actually enjoy it, because it becomes kind of a craft. I know you don't realize how cool it is with that craft ice when you're in a bar and somebody is wearing like an apron making a balanced cocktail and they put that big block of ice in there. It looks good and you're like, all right, okay, cool. That's what my drink costs, $20, piece of ice cube. But when you do it at home, it still gets you. Clear ice, something about that clear ice. And like I said, if they were lucky enough, our grandfather's fathers actually had clear ice, because they weren't getting ice from an ice box or a refrigerator. They were actually getting it from an ice box. Somebody bringing a slab of ice that was probably cut from some lake in the Northeast and sent all across the world. So they were getting clear ice. Nature makes clear ice. Icicles are clear ice. Every little kid that lives in a cold region has sucked on a piece of clarified clear ice dripping through leaves from the roof icicles. Because that's what nature does. It pushes out the imperfections and the impurities, pushes them lower and lower and lower and lower and lower until they don't matter. Like, nature knows how to purify things. So if you probably got this far into it, who I am probably doesn't actually matter. But I'm AKA Jack All Trade, and it's a play on the classic Jack of all trades, which I'm so upset that that term has gotten bastardized in the way that it has. That term was almost never meant to be a slight in any way, shape, or form. It was always meant to be a person who had a lot of skill in their hands. And I almost never say Jack of all trades without saying the full thing. And I'm gonna reach over here. There's a lot of my personality right here. Some bones, some moose bones from when I was in Alaska. Some patches. My fire department patch. My EMT patch. My unit patch in the military. My unit patch in the military. I patched when I was a security guard at an all-girls school. One of my patches for one of the ambulance companies that I worked for, another one that I worked for, another one that I worked for, another one that I worked for. But let me get rid of all those. And Jack of all trades, master of none, oftentimes better than a master of one. It was always meant to be somebody who had mastery of a lot of things. And in a time where you couldn't just go to the internet to find whatever you wanted, having that person who was that jack of all trades around you, that's the person that you would always seek out. That's the person you always wanted to have in your back pocket as your friend. And that's the person that I've always tried to strive to be. That jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. So yeah, that's my alter ego, Jack All Trade. And hopefully that comes across, and it comes across in a way that's sincere that is valuable, that is relatable. Yeah. We all can be that better than a master of one. Better than a master of one.